I remember seeing the rating IGN gave this game a day before it came out, and honestly, when I see a 7 out of 10 from them, I think, here we go again, it's either going to be really good or really bad. And look, I'm not a big Souls-like guy, right? I've definitely gotten better in the past couple of years with Souls-like games, but coming in as not a newcomer and not a hardcore player, honestly, for the price of $40, I've been enjoying it. But objectively, if I had to speak for other people, it's just meh. So, unironically, a 7 out of 10 or even a 6 out of 10 seems like a correct score for this game. So what is NIghtreign exactly? It's a whole new separate game that takes the same mechanics, setting, and bosses from Elden Ring and twists them into a roguelike experience. It's a 3-player co-op and each run consists of 2 days and 3 nights. During the day, you explore the island as fast as you can, gathering weapons, runes, to make yourself stronger as the play space gets smaller due to the approaching storm that's similar from Fortnite. And at the end of the night, you fight a major boss. After the second night boss, you immediately fight the selected Night Lord boss, and beating that boss completes the entire run. If at any point, if all members of the team are dead during one of the boss fights at night, you wipe and you return back to lobby. There are 8 characters that you can choose from, 6 from the start, with each having their own unique passive ability, special ability, and ultimate ability. For example, the Duchess class benefits for playstyles with high attack speed as her passive allows her to dodge 2 consecutive times, her skill re-damages enemies with the same damage from the past few seconds, and finally her ultimate hides herself and nearby allies from enemies. Each character's, or class, can wield any weapon that you come across in each of your runs, but these abilities are unique to each character. Again, since I never really beat Elden Ring, but played through a lot of the content, I understand most of the mechanics, but I have not used every single weapon type or spell. I was a katana bleed one-trick abuser in the base game, so it was refreshing and interesting being forced to use all these different weapon types and spells as they were like the first time I used them. Same thing with the bosses, I haven't beaten or fought every single boss in Elden Ring, so yes, I did recognize a good chunk of the bosses, but there were a few bosses I didn't recognize, especially those in the Dark Souls series, and for me, that was fresh. Not so exciting as they were really tanky, but it was still new. I've played roguelikes before, and I guess battle royales too, so it helped in understanding how to play the game faster, having to get through different areas as fast as you can before the play area shrinks, clearing the objectives and bosses to gain loot, choosing weapons, gear, and passive traits that synergize well with my overall build to make my overall damage output really strong. I actually enjoyed the overall gameplay loop. It's rough around the edges, but I think it's overall a fun experience. Some of the issues I have with the game is the overall progression outside of each individual run. Before each run, you can equip 3 different relics to your character. Each relic can have between 1 to 3 different passive buffs that can range from +1 strength to something like whenever you drink a flask, the effects also pass on to allies. And after the end of each run, these relics are dropped, but it's purely RNG. And so most of the time the relics you get aren't useful or they're very mediocre. It's not enough of a power boost or change that makes me feel like the run will be substantially different where I think I'll win. When I do another run, it's mostly thinking that maybe I'll get a better coin flip, not so much confidence that I am stronger. And I think especially for a roguelike, you kind of need that push to want to do another run. And even more, especially when you have a more punishing nature of Elden Ring. I think if they had a skill tree or some other system that is parallel with the relic system that isn't based off of RNG, I think it would be more satisfying. But it really bums me out doing a long run as they can take around 30 minutes or so to have nothing to show for most of the time. Yes, you can say that's the nature of roguelikes, but that's why something like Hades 2 is very enjoyable and a lot of people are willing to sit through many deaths, even if when they keep dying over and over and over again, you still feel like you're progressing through the story, the different weapons, the different arcana cards, the crafting spells and all that. Yes, your run resets, but there's other progression avenues that makes you feel like the next run will be different because you feel more in control of what will happen in the run. In Elden Ring NIghtreign, I think there's a lot of RNG going on in the game that makes it feel like a coin flip and a coin flip. Yes, that makes things surprising and you don't know what's going to happen, but after a while, you kind of just want to have a good, reliable build. In the base game, I'm on a katana bleed one trick, but I think there were only 2 or 3 runs in my 20-hour time in NIghtreign where I was building around bleed or a katana build. And I will admit, it's good that it's forcing me to not use a cringe build like that, but I wish there were more opportunities to try to get to my bread and butter. Being able to reroll rewards is one big and easy way to fix this. There were many times after beating a boss and seeing the rewards, and they were all useless or uninteresting to me or to my build. And with the fast-paced nature of this game, since you have to clear a lot of distance and a lot of activities in a short amount of time to even have a decent chance against the Night Lord at the end, I want each and every encounter I do to be meaningful to my build or run. There has been times where my team had a decent run in like clearing a lot of these things and got to like level 13. Then I look at everyone's equipment and it's kind of a weird mishmash of just random things. I think by adding a reroll to add a chance of getting some sort of relevant or decent buff to your build will do wonders to that run, and thus making the game slightly easier and more enjoyable, especially for more casual gamers. I also want to mention this dumb resurrection mechanic. So like in Fortnite, when you die, you fall to the ground and you need a teammate to pick you up. Normally, you would just go over there, interact with them, be stuck in animation, then they're up. But in NIghtreign, you have to attack them consistently until the purple bar above them disappears. One, it's a weird concept to think about. Your teammate is almost dead, and the only way to help them up is to attack them more. Second, the more times you die, the harder it is to be picked up due to a larger purple bar or whatever. So if someone starts attacking you and gets, like, let's say halfway done, if they don't consistently attack you and pause for too long, your bar will just fill right back up. It's very frustrating, especially if you're like running like a more tank build or whatever that takes a lot more stamina and time to aim, position, then swing, and you're also trying to avoid the boss attacks at the same time. It kind of makes melee characters kind of useless and ranged characters more valuable in this case, and especially with like a universal mechanic like this, it's very frustrating having to try to res someone when it feels like the game is working against you. This can be very weird and very frustrating, more so for casual players especially. And speaking about casual gamers, the game doesn't really have a good communication tool for solo queue players. No voice chat, no text chat, and no communication wheel like in Apex. The only thing you can do is just pin a location on the map. And I think with just how fast-paced and grueling this game can be, I think it's important to have the Apex communication wheel to be able to say more than just saying, go here. Because at the state right now, yes, there are people that do try to coordinate where to go, but it's hard to ask for like a specific item or trying to communicate to give up on a boss or whatever. So the solo queue experience isn't the worst, at least for me, as I only had a handful of frustrating runs because I wasn't able to tell my teammates to stop fighting a boss or to leave an area or whatever. And this leads me to why there are a lot of mixed opinions of this game. Yes, I enjoy the game, even with all its flaws. I think it's a decent game, and I wouldn't mind putting in another 10 more hours to get more of the achievements. But I also understand why people are not liking the game. I see it too when I play the game. Casuals, especially for newcomers that never really played any Souls-like games or Elden Ring, are going to be really confused and most likely get frustrated really fast. The fast-paced nature of this game doesn't afford you to take your time to understand what a weapon does, or to take a slow burn boss approach or any of that. Especially since at the beginning, you're only given one option of a particular expedition against the triple dog boss, I think. You could find yourself doing the same thing at the same map and dying to the same enemy over and over again, and I would assume NIghtreign isn't really a good learning experience for a newbie-friendly title compared to the base Elden Ring game. That being said, if it's not for newcomers, then you would think it would appeal more to hardcore fans, but with only 8 new unique bosses added to this entry, it's not something that people who have played a lot of From Software games would be excited for, and these bosses are pretty much scaled to a party of 3, and when you're randomly queued with, let's say, like 2 other of me's, I can find that very frustrating. Costs the same amount as Shadow of the Erdtree DLC, but provides much less new content and doesn't offer a satisfying difficult challenge. And so I think a good chunk of hardcore players don't find any value in this title. Newcomers and very casual gamers will find this too confusing, too fast, and too punishing, which leaves people like me who kind of live in an intersection of different Venn diagrams who enjoy this game. Obviously, it caters to me, but it doesn't really resonate well with like each end of the spectrum, so to say. And I don't really think that's a good thing. Look, I like Elden Ring NIghtreign. I'm not a newcomer nor an expert in the genre. I've played other roguelike games and games that have a roguelike game mode in them, so there wasn't as much learning for me in this game. I think this game can be very confusing, and there's not any function or tool that helps you learn or understand what's important or what's bad. There are a lot of weapons, spells, gears, passive buffs that are most likely useless to your build when you come across them. There's no good way of progression in between of these runs as well. Sure, there's a gem relic system or whatever, but just like the gear inside each run, they are purely RNG, and there is a good chance that each relic you obtain at the end of each run is ultimately useless and not beneficial to your preferred way of playing. In terms of actual new content, most of the world bosses, enemies, and weapons are all reused from the base Elden Ring game. And with the lack of new stuff, it kind of makes it feel like a fan-made mod in a way. But nonetheless, I have been enjoying my experience so far. Trying out Elden Ring last year and playing through a good chunk of Shadow of the Erdtree has been really fun. That along with the recent trend of roguelike in pretty much every game. It's cool to see like an official version of a roguelike Elden Ring game. And I think as a spin-off for the price of $40, if you have played Elden Ring before and enjoyed it, I think you should give it a try. I don't think it would be Game of the Year contender, and I don't think it should be, but it's still a pretty fun game at the end of the day. So, unironically, IGN's 7 out of 10 rating for this game is pretty accurate to me. That will do it for me for today. Make sure to like and subscribe as my goal is to get to 500 subs by the end of the month. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I appreciate you guys for watching.